Hi, hey, and hello there. Obi-Han here, and welcome back to the Comic High Ground. Alright, we're doing something a little new here. We are visiting Gotham City. Actually, I visited Gotham City a few weeks ago with my Batman Deadpool video. And I was like, you know what? I talk about a lot of Marvel, and when it comes to DC, I talk about like the shows or the movies and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start doing videos on the Batman comic, and Matt Fraction is the writer of this new Batman run, and it's a new #1 and everything. And I was like, yeah, this is a good place to jump on. Like I've kept up with certain stuff going on with Batman, but not a lot. I know like the big things. I know about what happened with Alfred. I know kind of where Damian is, and things of that nature. But this is again like a fresh start now. Some stuff I talk about in this video, even I don't quite know fully how it got to that point, and I have to do more research. But my job right now is to cover these first 2 issues in this video because I just want to go ahead and get the ball running. Maybe later on or in a later video I might mention how this, that, and other happened. But for right now, we're just gonna go right on into it, and there's no script per se for this video. I'm just kind of gonna be talking off some bullet points from about the story so far, and to add on to that, you'll see probably some fewer panels than I usually have in these videos. I'm trying to get videos out to y'all more consistently, and because of how busy I am, sometimes it's harder to get videos out quickly when I'm trying to go and pick out all these panels and stuff. So you may see more just of the B-roll footage. I'm gonna put some panels up here and there for major stuff, but ultimately, yeah, you'll get the story. It's just gonna be a few less visuals. I'm sorry for that, but until I have or until I'm able to probably like pay an editor, this is gonna have to be how I get the videos to you all. But at the very least, it should be more consistent. So, without further ado and more Obi-Han rambling, let's get this started. So, Batman #1. It starts out with Gordon and this other beat cop on the streets. Gordon is like getting his coffee or whatever, and the first question for me, again, this is fresh eyes. I don't know quite what's been going on leading up to this. But why is Gordon a regular cop again? And he's definitely kind of showing this newbie the ropes. But we don't stick with Gordon too long, because then we see like this figure bursting out of a window. And later on we see this doctor telling Batman that that figure was basically Croc, Waylon Jones. And she's been working with him for a while. I think she's like this psychiatrist of sorts. But she isn't really making it known, I guess, what exactly she's doing, right? Like what her real job is, at least not to my knowledge. But in any case, she tells Batman that Waylon has kind of gone through these mental shifts, and he's like going from like kind of crazy Croc to like this childlike state, and he can't. It's like he's not controlling it. It's like his mind is kind of shifting. So she tells Batman that he's not really dangerous per se. He's just kind of a patient, right? And Batman's like, yeah, I got it. I'll handle it. So he uses his grapnel or whatever, and he goes out to the Batmobile. That's what it is. Because I remember him gliding, and I was trying to figure out where he was going. But he went to the Batmobile. And the one thing this comic does is like it's specifying, and I don't know, maybe Batman comics have done this before, but it's like specifying each gadget is like grapple or bat grapple, and it like tells like specs on the gadget. So that's kind of cool. And while he's in the Batmobile, we get these different news channel segments talking about stuff going on in Gotham. And in one of these news coverages, we see that Vandal Savage has actually become the commissioner for Gotham PD, and I was like, how in the heck did that happen? And again, this is one of those things like if I was reading beforehand, I probably would know. I wasn't reading beforehand, and I did want to get this video to you all, so we will figure that out later. But we cut back to Batman, and he's in the Batmobile, and he's talking to Alfred. Now, of course, Alfred has been deleted at this point, and I think it's an Alfred AI. So he's talking to this AI. They're having this conversation about Gotham and everything, and then they get there's this disturbance, and I think the park, I believe it is the park in Gotham. This lady is about to be attacked by these crazy gang members. So Batman rolls up. He does what he does. He beats the crap out of them, and then he tells the woman to remain near the Batmobile, and he tells the Batmobile to go into like this defensive mode or something. So the Batmobile is supposed to be protecting her until the police arrive. Batman then makes his way to the location that Croc is at, and he has to fight some cops, I believe, leading in there, but there's no fight with like Croc. Like Croc is in this childlike state again, and so Batman kind of talks to him. If you remember the episode of Justice League, when Amanda Waller was talking to Terry McGinnis about some of the stuff Batman had did, and I think her name was Ace, who was with the Royal Flush Gang. She had taken like these people hostage and everything, but it turned out that her life wasn't about to be much longer, so Batman sat with her until her time came. And it kind of reminded me of that, because Batman, he didn't go there to beat on Croc. He went there and sat there like he was sitting with a child who was nervous or whatever. So Batman contacts the doctor. He actually takes his cowl off and speaks to him pretty much as Bruce Wayne. Now, of course, again, Wayland doesn't know who he is. He's in this like childlike state. So it's a really nice moment, and it shows like the human side, not the bat side. You know, so many writers like to just tell the bat side of Batman. They don't want to lean too much into just his human side. They'll always just focus on the detective, the prep time, beating people up, all that stuff. But it is nice to see like the more human side of Batman in these stories. So the doctor shows up. Batman, of course, puts his cowl back on by then, and he makes his way back. He makes his way back to the Batcave. So when he makes his way back to the Batcave, he's kind of monologuing, and one thing to keep in mind, the Batcave isn't what it's usually like, because one thing I do remember when I was keeping up with the Bat stories, Batman isn't as wealthy as he was before, so I think he has a much more, I want to say streamlined, but it's like a less, I believe he has a less, what's the word I'm looking for, like a less technological, a less super lab type of Batcave. It's a little bit more basic. And then he gets his message from Robin, and Robin's like, do we have any police on our side? Because, you know, we might need to. And you cut to Robin, and you see that he's kind of has his hands up with the police with their guns to his back. And that's how that issue ends. So we're going to pretty much go right into the second issue, because again, I got the first two issues for y'all in this video, and this issue starts out with a flashback of Tim and Bruce, and Tim is all excited. They're outside the Bat Mansion. I guess it is the Bat Mansion, but they're outside Wayne Manor, and Tim is all excited and is like, "Yeah, Tim, this is a big day." That's what Bruce is telling him. And then you see Damian over there watching the Batmobile, and Damian's like, "This is beneath me, all right? This physical labor is beneath me, and you know it." And he's like, it's insulting, and Bruce is like, "Damian, if I wanted to insult you, believe me, you would know." So Tim is like, "I can't believe I'm finally gonna get to be able to drive the Batmobile," and Bruce is like, "No, slow your roll, no, that's a little bit too much for you. We're gonna be driving this," and it's like this old pickup truck. So we kind of find out Tim is learning how to drive at this point, and that's why he was so excited. So we cut back to the present day, and we see Tim pretty much stopping these robbers. And the last robber he stopped, he was like, "Okay, so what's this stuff he brings? Some type of drug?" So he kind of tests. He's like, "What is this?" And the guy's like, "I mean, it's baby formula, man. The baby formula is expensive, and you know, the way Gotham is, it's hard to get it, and yada, yada, yada." And then this cop pulls up, and he's like, "Freeze." So Tim puts his hands up, and this is when we get the callback to that previous issue where Tim had called Batman, because we see the conversation from Tim's point of view. And then one of the robbers actually tries to run away, so the cop shoots him in the back. Tim at this point is like, "Yeah, you shot that guy, what the heck?" And so he was like, "You know, the the cop is like, we have orders to stop fleeing people however we want to, yada yada. And Tim is like, all right, I'm out. He throws down the smoke pellet and tries to hop up the wall because he has this new gadget that allows him to stick or bounce off walls. So he's jumping and bouncing off of these walls from his feet to jump up the building. But the cop manages to shoot him in the air, and he falls down. He's like, you shot me. So we go back to another flashback, and it's Tim and Bruce in the truck, and Tim is having a hard time making the truck go. In fact, we find out at this point that they have been kind of sitting there for, I guess, an hour or so, and Bruce is kind of trying to talk him through it. And Damien hops up on top of the hood, and he's like, "Yeah, you suck. Y'all been at this for hours. You get your ass on somewhere, Tim. You ain't nothing, and I can do this or whatever." And Bruce is like, "Tim, raise your foot off of the brake." And Tim is like, "But," and he's like, "Just go." And so he does it, and then the car shoots forward a little bit, and Damien goes flying off of the hood. And I think Alfred says something like, "Very good job," or something like that, because clearly this is during the time that Damien was still a super prick. He's a prick now, but he was a super prick back then. To be honest, I'm still not a big fan of Damian Wayne, but this is a funny moment because Damien talks so much noise. It's awesome and fun to see people kind of put him in his place. So we cut back to the present day. The cops have put Tim in the back of their truck. They handcuffed him and put him back in their police van. And Tim looks up and he sees like all these different criminals and stuff they got sitting back there, but none of them are restrained. So Tim has like this. He's been shot in his torso, and one of the cops was like, "Hey, you think he's gonna be all right with all those people? I mean, you have him handcuffed." And he's like, I mean, not my problem. So they drive off, and the criminals, of course, attack Tim. Tim pretty much beats all of them while injured and while being handcuffed. And the cop who shot him, who's also the one driving, starts to drive all recklessly, hitting like these potholes, pretty much to give the people the advantage over Robin. And Robin still manages to beat him. In fact, he actually manages to get his hands free of the handcuffs, but he breaks them basically, and pretty much takes care of all the rest of the riffraff, if you will, as the proper people call it, the riffraff. He takes care of all the rest of the criminals, and then the cop is like, "Yo, he's out of his handcuffs." And he's like, "What?" So while the other cop isn't paying attention, Batman had actually gotten in. He let out these bat spikes, and the bat spikes, they run over the bat spikes and mess with the tires, and then Batman lets Tim out, and Batman's pretty much like, "Okay, you handle this, you good?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so the cops get out, and then Tim tells Batman, he's like, "Hey, that guy shot a guy. He shot this guy who's trying to run away. He's dangerous." And so the cop kind of said something along the lines of, the cops and Batman usually work together. They see eye to eye, and Batman's like, "Yeah, but I don't deal with police brutality, so we got a problem." So the cop decides he wants to pull a gun on Batman. The other cop, who has a better moral compass, is like, "Yo, stop, put the gun down, all right? Look, you done enough. You can't shoot Batman." So they're kind of aiming at each other, and they end up shooting at each other. Batman uses his cape to kind of, I guess, ricochet some of the bullets from the bad cop, because he has like this shotgun, and they end up shooting each other still because the good cop gets shot too. But Tim goes to go kind of patch up the good cop, while Batman is distracted watching Tim patch up the good cop. The bad cop pulls his gun out and shoots Batman in the back of the head. Now, again, Batman's armor is very reinforced apparently, because he survives it, and at the very least, he's just very disoriented. He looks more so like he's been concussed than he's been shot. But Tim is like, "Okay, we got to get you somewhere now for some medical attention." So the whole point of these flashbacks, of course, was to lead to this, because we get one more flashback, and it's Bruce basically telling Tim, "Look, if we were ever in a situation where someone needs to drive me somewhere because I was hurt, there's no one I would trust more than you." So we're now in the present day in the situation where Batman is almost completely incapacitated, and Tim has to drive him to get some medical attention. So they get in the Batmobile after Tim has patched up the good cop, and they call so the other medical ambulances and other cops will come to help those cops that were in that firefight. They get to the Batman and Tim get to the Batmobile, and Tim is like, okay, how do you even drive this thing? How many gears are on here? And Batman's like, 13. And Tim's like, 13, motherfucker. What? What do you need 13 gears for? And Batman's like, well, I mean, like, gears 1 through 5 are for, like, spatial travel, and gears 6 through 12 or something like that are for this. And then Tim's like, okay, well, what about 13? He's like, that's the powerful gear or something like that. And he's like, why do you need this many gears? And he's like, look, because I have the coolest car in the world, all right? Now go. So they make their way on so Tim can get him wherever he needs to go. The reporters at this point have gotten to the scene of the crime, if you want to call it that. And Vandal Savage shows up, and they're like, yo, Commissioner Savage, how are you going to handle this? What happened? What are we going to do? And he basically tells his other cops, he's like, look, either break their cameras or break their noses or something like that to get them out the way. So, and this is Vandal Savage, very much so in character for him. So he pretty much sees what happened to the cops, and he goes on TV and he's like, yeah, this is because of Batman. So at this point, we're declaring war on Batman and Robin. They're fair game. So that's pretty much where the issue closes out. And now we had this situation where Batman's hurt, Robin's hurt technically. They got to get some medical attention, and Vandal Savage has pretty much made it bat season for everybody. So we're gonna see how that goes. I really like this. Like this was refreshing to read something, and this is not a knock against what I've been reading on Marvel, but it's a change of pace, right? You know, I've been reading Spider-Man a lot, as you all know, for pretty much the entirety of the time I have this channel. It's rare that I read something else for a variety of reasons, but I'm gonna try to keep up with Batman. And again, because of this new style of how I'm doing the videos, hopefully I'll be able to get things to y'all more. Of course, the other issue is that I have a hard time remembering when these issues come out, so they sneak up on me a lot of the time, and I'm gonna try to do better with that as well. But that's this issue. How did you all like Batman from Matt Fraction number 1 and 2? I got y'all 2 of them this time. Did you like it? Do you like how he's taking the character? You like the costumes? I didn't even mention the costumes. The costumes look awesome. I'm not usually a fan of the bluish bat costume, but it actually looks awesome. And Robin's costume looks great too. But yeah, again, what do you all think? Do you like how the comic is so far? How it's starting out? Do you think they should change things? What are your comments on Vandal Savage being the commissioner? All that stuff. Drop that in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more, and remember, we have the high ground. Catch you later.